Another CEO Wisdom podcast with Al Lewis. He is CEO and Quizmeister in Chief at Quizify. So we're going to talk about that. Al has a very cool background. Studied at Harvard Law School in '79. I wasn't even born at this time. And economics. Graduated in '78 off that. So fairly educated bloke, like my UK compatriots would say, and quite the accomplisher. Worked at various company in the CEO position, was successful at some, was not successful at some others. We'll talk about that. Al, I am glad to have you on. Can you tell us a bit more about yourself and a bit more about Quizify?
Sure. Well, as you mentioned, I've been doing this for quite some time. Graduated from college in '78. I worked at a company most of your folks have heard of, Bain and Company, for years. I then had a succession of CEO positions, the first one of which was a complete failure because we thought we'd solved the problem of losing weight with a magical nutritional formula. And in fact, people did lose the weight, but then they gained it right back
Right.
again. And then I got another position as running a NASDAQ company, legitimate company. You could look up the stock price in the newspaper every day, and that one worked out pretty well. And after that, I started a company that, in the United States, there's a lot of companies that kind of make money in healthcare without really doing anything. And this is one of those companies. You can make a lot of money in healthcare in the US without actually doing anything. And that was very profitable. We sold it to a private equity company. And now I'm actually, frankly, making less money, but doing something. So this is Quizify, where we say wiser employees, we sell this through employers to let their employees learn about healthcare. And we say wiser employees make healthier decisions, and healthier decisions save money.
Love it. And I love your honesty there. I've had some folks on the pod that were quite pissed about, yeah, folks making money, not doing anything in healthcare, and are consequently building startups to fix that. Love the honesty there. And even sold to private equity, just like a walk in the park. Love that part of your background. You also started at Lehman Brothers, right? That had an epic failure in 2007. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I worked for there from '78 to '79. And I'd like to say, well, I saw the writing on the wall, but no, it was just a job after college to save some money for graduate school.
There you go. Okay, and Bain. Well, Bain, you spent 8 years there, and
Mhm.
these were glory days, if I'm not mistaken. So tell me a bit more about that.
Can you hear me? I just lost your audio.
Yeah, test 1 2.
Okay.
I am there. So I
Now
was
I can.
asking
Good.
for Bain. You were
Yes.
there in the glory days. You were vice president there, so that's a pretty high position. You were 8 years there. Tell us about that one.
Well, they had a lot of vice presidents, to be honest. So I was one of many. I did catch the wave, the early wave, and they're doing well now. But after I left, they fell on hard times for a while. What happened was, well, number one, they kind of weren't very good. That was part of it. They're good now. And number two, the founders sold the company to the employees in an employee stock ownership plan at a very inflated price so they could cash out, and essentially almost bankrupted the rest of the company. And the rest of the company revolted. Revolted, demanded that the transaction be rescinded, and threw out the Bill Bain and his cronies. So Bain and Company did not have a Bill Bain anymore. By that time, I had left for the pastures that wasn't greener. That was the weight control company that I left for, um, and then I got this job running a legitimate NASDAQ-listed company after that.
That is super interesting. So I want to jump right in Quizify because it's quite fascinating what you do. I'm on your landing page here. Just gonna share that with the audience here, and I'm looking at the ingredients of this so natural looking bar right there. And your first question is how many sugars are listed there. And I love the quality of question there. There's an illustration, and there's all these ingredients. So how do you formulate quality questions to get accurate answers and data, and also comments, because you've been in that industry, about how flabbergasting it is to read all of these ingredients?
Yes, so that's a very good question. We now have about 1,800 questions. We come from different ways. Some of them are pretty standard, but that particular one with the granola bar, that actually was a personal one of mine, because I was on Amtrak, the trains in the U.S. here, and I got an upgrade to first class for some reason, can't remember why. And they gave you some food and a granola bar, right? So I'm looking at it, I'm seeing it's got the quinoa, it's got the Quaker. So I'm saying, well, this is cool. So I start eating the thing, and I frankly spit it out. It was so sweet. So then I read the ingredients. Now you can hardly read the ingredients on this thing. They're in like the little flap, of where they put the packaging together. So I'm trying to put on my glasses and reading the ingredients, saying, holy smoke, there's like 10 sugars in here. Well, that's how I came up with that question. There are quite a number of questions I get through personal experience. Another one like that is, you remember during the pandemic where you were afraid to go to the grocery store so you'd have the food delivered?
Yeah.
Some people still do that. Well, so we ordered from our local Whole Foods, natural foods place around here, and they have this green juice. It doesn't taste particularly good, but it's very good for you. It's got, cucumber and kale, a few other things. Well, so we get the delivery, and they had done a substitution. They were all out of their green juice, so they substituted naked green machine juice. I'm looking at it, and it says no sugar added, and it looks very green. So I said, well, that's cool. One sip into the sink, just the sweetest thing you've ever tasted. Sweeter than Coca-Cola. So I'm thinking, how the hell am I allowed to say hell? Well, you said pissed, so
Yeah,
I can say hell.
you can
Okay.
swear. And it's probably
Okay.
concentrate, by the way, because I had similar experience.
Yeah. So a lot of people tell me they have similar experience. So I'm saying, how can they say no sugar added right on the label and be this sweet? And so I looked at the ingredients, and it turned out what happened. This was a loophole that they took advantage of. That the particular ways they sweeten this naked juice are with fruit juice concentrate, like grape juice concentrate, apple juice concentrate, which are sugars. Those are sugars. But according to the Food and Drug Administration, if you have a juice drink and you sweeten it with juice sugars, they don't count as added sugars. It's like if you sell
So
maple syrup, it says no added, it has no added sugar. It is sugar. You put maple syrup in something else, it's an added sugar. So a lot of these stuff, frankly, are more interesting questions, are driven either by my experience, or else people will write to us with ideas for questions. That's why they're so interesting.
And to me, like we've talked about Ukraine, you and I, and that might sound controversial, but that is more infuriating to me than the Ukraine stuff, because this is like all over foods. I'm not sure how more prevalent it is in North America. I'm in Mexico right now, but I'm pretty sure everyone does it. I call it big food. It's just outrageous what they hide to us, because in the biohacker community, which I've been part of, and you're a biohacker also most likely, because yeah, you take care of your health and all of that. We always say to check the ingredients, and when you check the ingredients, you think at least that you get the right data there, but actually you're not. These companies, they work around the legislation pretty much all the time, which is why we're seeing these cool companies emerge with like simple ingredients, right? There's like literally 3 ingredients on the package. The package is biodegradable. I think people are catching on that trend and want honesty and really want to know what's in there. And that's why also I would advise folks listening to this that the step after checking the ingredients behind something is to actually observe your body after you eat something, whatever it is. Just observe the reactions to your body, not only because these companies are probably hiding stuff from you, but we all have different systems, right? So even if I know that kale is a superfood, doesn't mean that my gut will digest it well. And I might feel like shit after eating kale, and I might go to a shitter right after. And that's not cool. That's a waste of my energy, it's a waste of my time, and yeah, of my metabolism, while I could have eaten something that would have actually given me energy and put me in a positive mood. What do you think about that, Al?
Well, a couple of observations. First, actually, too much kale is bad for you. There are people who OD on kale. It's like the only vegetable you can eat too much of. So that's a sidebar. But the other thing is, even some of these things that have simple, like 3 or 4 ingredients, one of those ingredients is a hidden sugar. The way you can tell is very simple. If it comes in a package and it is sweet, it has hidden sugars. Period. Yeah. No, I mean they might, if it says it's diet and artificial has, stevia or whatnot, but those diet things aren't altogether that good either. I mean, one of them, Splenda, that stuff will kill you.
Yeah.
I mean, stevia is fine, but the Splenda will get you.
Even stevia, it gives me headache. It's so powerful that it gives me headache. So you really need to control the quantity, I guess. But my question for you, Al, you're a veteran in the industry. How can one live with oneself knowing that they put like this crap in products that people consume? I mean, they will achieve their objectives, right? They'll achieve their KPIs, which is like make more money or have that product enjoyed by more people, or spread the product throughout many territories. Don't these folks like have remorse and like a hole in their heart after doing that?
One would think, uh, but I can't tell you. I mean, there is one guy by the name of Wendell Potter who had so much remorse for what he was doing in a health plan, denying people care that they needed, that kind of thing, that he basically just switched sides and pointed the finger and said, health plans, not all health plans, but these big health plans, that their duty, fiduciary duties to their shareholders, not to their insureds, not to the people they're covering, and that causes them to do, bad stuff to people. I mean, not all the time, but much more than they should.
I had
Hey, so
go ahead.
if you want one great example, go to the second question on the
I'm there.
on the homepage there. You're there. Okay, so put it up.
Yeah, can you fix a cavity? I mean, just share that with people.
Yeah.
Can you fix a cavity without drilling it and filling it? Yes, you can. Yes, a lot of times they just go away by oof, no, definitely not. And yes, your dentist can paint a simple. uh, well, oof, that's a tough one because the third one seems far-fetched. So let's go with. I think you're trying to trick me there. So I
I am,
selected the
but
third
I did.
one.
I am, but I didn't. Yeah. So blow up your screen a bit so people can see. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. So it's this stuff called silver diamine fluoride, or SDF,
Yeah.
and a dentist can sprinkle this on a cavity on microbrush. You can see that's called a microbrush. Brush it on the decay, and the decay doesn't go any farther. It stops, which means that no drilling needs to take place. And when you drill, you're drilling out the healthy tissue as well as the decay.
Hmm.
And it also means no Novocaine, no pain, and you're done in 2 minutes.
Wow. I didn't know that.
Now, no, nobody knows this, and the reason nobody knows this is because the dentists aren't telling you, and the reason the dentists aren't telling you is because I've done the math. In the United States, there's about 110 million cavities. About 75 million of them can be treated with SDF, including, by the way, a few that would have been root canals, can be
Hmm.
treated with SDF instead of filling. The revenue for the entire dental industry would go down by about 20% if dentists used SDF where they were supposed to use it. So they're not telling you. This stuff's been on the market. Well, in Japan, they've been using it for more than half a century. In the
Hmm.
US, it was approved by the FDA in 2014, and it got breakthrough therapy status in 2018. And here is the best part. And I'm going to do this just because you want to be dramatic on a podcast, right? It turns the decay black, so you wouldn't use it on front teeth. But it happens that, drum roll, I have SDF in my own mouth.
Okay.
And what I'm going to do, and I don't know if this is going to work, but it's a podcast, we want to be cool, do interesting things. I'm going to open my mouth, and maybe you will be able to see it. It's a little black spot on the back upper molar.
Yeah, sort of.
Okay,
Okay.
that's close enough. You don't really have. I don't have to. That's close enough. But
Thank
my
you for
point,
showing the interior of your mouth.
yeah. How many podcasts have the interior of somebody's mouth, right? So, and I'm showing that for a reason, but actually a very specific reason, which is that since I got it, not only do I know that everything that I just showed in that question is true, it actually worked better than we say in the question. That we say it takes 2 to 5 minutes. It took about 90 seconds in total. And remember how I said dentists aren't telling you about it?
Yeah.
Well, I knew about it, obviously. So my dentist finds this cavity. As you can tell from the rest of my mouth, I don't have other cavities for the most part. And says, okay, well, we'll make an appointment. We'll have it, we'll fill it. And I said, why don't we just use SDF? We can do it right now.
Hmm.
There's like this silence, because no one's ever said this to her before. And she says, I said, well, and then I said, well, do you have SDF? She said, yes, I have it. It's in the back room, but nobody ever asked for it. And of course, what I'm thinking is, of course, nobody ever asked for it because you're not telling them about it. So she went and she got the SDF and put it on the cavity, and I walked out 2 minutes later.
So let me paraphrase here. Are you saying that all doctors, oh, sorry, all the dentists are assholes?
I mean, there are a few dentists who will advertise silver diamine fluoride,
But it must
but
be a bit
most
more
of
complex than that. Must be because it's the success rate is not always good. Because
no,
and
no,
then
no, no. Well, the success rate is quite good, and you can go on
surprising.
my. Well, remember, and the other thing is, if it doesn't work, you just come back, in X number of months and fill it. So it's not like a success on an operation where if it fails, you die kind of thing.
Hmm.
But the success rate is quite high. In fact, if you go to the testimonials on Quizify, you'll
Hmm.
see some people, on video giving their names that say this prevented a root canal or this prevented
Hmm.
an extraction, not just a
Okay.
cavity. No, the bottom line is this is a huge money loser for dentists. Now, one of the things you might say is, why don't they advertise this to the general public? Why doesn't this? Plenty of things are advertised to the general
Yeah.
public. Well, the reason they don't is twofold. One, the company that sells the stuff in the US also sells a whole bunch of other stuff to dentists. And can you imagine like a dentist is buying other things from people, this organization turns on the TV and sees this very organization saying, you don't have to get cavities filled anymore. You can just ask your dentist for this and it only costs you $35.
Hmm.
As a dentist, are you going to buy anything else ever from that company? No, of course not.
Hmm.
Then you might say, well, why doesn't the company just sell the SDF product line, to a different company and they can advertise direct consumer? Well, the answer is it's so inexpensive that the actual SDF itself costs $1 or $2 a cavity. What the rest of what you're paying for is for the dentist to put it on and whatever. But you cannot make money selling this, advertising this to the general public. It's just too cheap.
But my root canal question to that is why not sell it at a higher price?
All right, you can double the price and it's still
I
only
would
four
10x
dollars
it.
a
I would
cavity.
10x. I mean, if it's that miraculous and avoids pain and the visit and the time waste and the yada yada, I'd sell it like 100 to $200. I'd 100x the price.
Well, if you did that, I mean, it's not patented. It's a generic formula now. Someone else would just come in and do it cheaper.
I would Shkreli the shit out of it. You know who Martin Shkreli is?
Yeah, of course I know. Of course, right? Yeah, I
I
mean,
don't know, man. Like he's a young guy. Not everyone knows him.
oh, okay. Well, you're a young
Dr.
guy, so I
Shkreli.
thought everybody. Oh, yeah, I don't even think he was. Is he a doctor? I don't even think he's a doctor. Was he?
No, but
I think he
his
was
new
just
app
a
is called
guy.
Dr. Gupta, and I'm pretty sure he thinks he's a doctor.
Oh,
He's an
well,
entertaining
yeah. I
man.
mean, honestly, what you're saying is something you would do, and you'd make a lot of money for, 5 years till others came in. But still, you'd make a lot of money in those 5 years.
Yeah, because the answer is like probably competition. It's like not patented, and it's probably very easy to do it. But yeah, it's fascinating. I'm gonna research more. Let's talk about Ozempic, which is like all the news nowadays. And I have
Right,
my opinions, right? Like in the US, here in Mexico, you walk in the street, everyone is fat, right? Yet,
right. You guys are the only country with a higher obesity rate
but
than the United
wait,
States.
wait for the punchline here.
Yeah.
There is no whales in Mexico. Rarely you will see a big whale, like with six stomachs. And in US, you guys have that, like morbidly obese people. The rate is higher. Why? Because in Mexico, you need, I mean, money, right? Like you need to have a lot of money to reach this state of obesity. So that being said, what is your take on Ozempic? Me, I've always valued sport. You look fit yourself. You look slim. You probably value that, your health and so forth. And I just think it's probably, again, the easy culture right there. Take a pill and melt some fat. And I think that this is losing the whole point. I do sports for my mind. It's the greatest therapy ever. It makes me mentally fit. It makes me grow on a daily basis. I love doing sport. It's a very cherished activity of mine. What is your take on Ozempic?
So I assume, given that where you live and where you did live, you play soccer or
No, I'm an ultra athlete, an endurance athlete.
really?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh,
I did
oh,
3 Ironman. I think it says it here.
really?
Yeah, and
Oh,
ultra
okay.
runs and so forth. So that's my thing. It's pain basically. I have a good relationship with pain.
Yeah, what we would say in Quizify is you should mix up your exercises
I
because
do mix
you will
them.
wear out. All right, all right. Well, in any event, the short answer to your question, number one, yes, I do. I'm 67, but I play ultimate frisbee 4 or 5 times a week. There's not
Whoa.
a lot of 67-year-olds playing ultimate, maybe 3 or 4 times, including this morning, I might add. But number two, and by the way, Ozempic's not a pill; it's an injection.
Right.
But it is a shortcut, and it is frankly for diabetes. I mean, if I had diabetes, I would probably get Ozempic. I'd put up with the nausea and the vomiting for a couple of weeks. And I mean, it works. I mean, it works for most people. That brings us to the question of using it to lose weight. Now, using it to lose weight, and now, it's Wegovy, which is basically Ozempic at a higher dose. Well, number one, in the US, it's very expensive, but they're pressuring employers to cover it so that employees would only pay, I don't know, $100 a month. Still a lot of money. The problem with that are twofold. One is that, for diabetes, what you prevent is definitely worth the risks of taking the drug. For obesity, well, you have some likelihood of getting some things, but the risks are also higher because the dose is greater. So we have in Quizify, we have what we call a curb their enthusiasm quiz that where employees have to go through in order to get the drug, they have to go take a quiz on all the side effects and the long-term things that can happen to you, which there are quite some number. And of course, the big thing is after you get off the drug, you're likely to gain the weight back.
I didn't check the time here, but we're already out
Uh,
of it, so we should do a
oh,
round two.
all
Yeah.
right.
Where can people find out more about you until then, Al?
www.quizify.com. Just for to put two Z's in Quizify.
Thank you so much. That was fun.
Okay.